And we are live. It is Shane McCarthy, the H2 water expert, here with Clayton Debert. Is that how I say? Did I say that properly? I don't want to. I don't want to butcher your last name.
Yeah, I mean, there is no wrong way. It's Dibert or Debert. It's spelt Dibert, but if you were in Germany where it's from, the EI differentiating sounds is reversed, so it'd be Debert in Germany, but Dibert
Okay,
is fine.
so I went the German route.
You did.
Awesome. Well, happy to have you here, man. I've really enjoyed the conversations that we've had in the past. Especially regarding water and hydrogen bottles and filtration systems and Kangen and all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
But what made this conversation or this episode of H2 Hydration and Health was I had posted in my Instagram story. If you don't follow me, it's at H2 Water Expert on Instagram. And it was an aerial view of people going in and out, on and off the beach in the water and stuff like that, and it looked oddly like how a cell operates, particularly in the mitochondria, and it stimulated a good conversation between you and I on kind of our beliefs, and so this one's going to be more of a conversation of just interesting topics.
Yeah, I mean, it's more about theories and possibilities of views of what the world and what the universe is, but I mean, it's such a wide topic. But a quick
Mm-hmm.
question for you, Shane, with what you know about hydrogen, which we know is a very abundant element in the world and in our known universe, does your knowledge of hydrogen and how it works and what it does as a function, does it change? Did it change the way you looked at the ecosystem of the world or the universe as a whole?
You know what? That's a good question. It contributed to my now beliefs of what we're even doing here, because I was learning about hydrogen and its ability to permeate the cell membrane, I looked at, and I was actually also reading the Bible at the time and learning about the firmament, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
man, I sure do. My belief, and this is my belief, is that we are a microcosm of the of a macrocosm. What that macrocosm is, we could be cells within cells within cells, but that's kind of my belief that we are, part of a bigger being.
Okay, so tell me the steps that you took to get to that conclusion of that being truth for you, because we may not be able to confirm or deny specific theories about this, but you
Yeah.
can explain it and logic it out the way in the steps that you've taken in your head to come to this conclusion. Like what does that look like?
Well, okay, so I guess this starts with me going down many different rabbit holes and going through that aspect in my life that I know that you've been through as well, where you kind of to a degree isolate yourself, and just look at things from a bigger perspective, an outside perspective, outside what we've been taught, and what we know.
Mhm.
And so that really started with me around the times, the Epstein times, and I went pretty hard and deep in it, and so I kind of started realizing, okay, we've been lied to on about a lot of things, and then I'm like, okay, we've been lied to about almost everything, and then in that group of people come the flat earthers, which I genuinely used to make fun of, and I don't
It's so easy.
necessarily. Oh yeah, I mean, I used to my favorite thing to say is, oh, there's flat earthers all around the globe. you know, and you know, I look at it now and I think, I mean, that's kind of, I see people actually having this conversation, whether it's flat Earth or heliocentric and stuff, and I'm like, I don't think it's really either. I think that we are in a cell within a cell. That's just, you know, I've looked at it with a very open mind to, you know, either theory, because they are theories, you know, I don't
100%.
know, I personally don't know a single person that can prove either or, and actually fully prove it, because there's both sides of the story, and to me, knowing how psyops are used and divide and conquer is the ultimate goal, that's what I really believe that both theories are put in there for, is for people to argue about things and stay distracted as from what's actually going on, and not realizing. And I also think it's a big part of not realizing our true power. You know, if we realize that we truly are all part of a bigger being, that kind of changes how you look at things, and it helps. For me, it's like realizing that we're brothers. We all, you know, we're all brothers and sisters, and we came from, you know, something bigger than us.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
what?
to dig into the actual the wormhole a little bit,
Mhm.
what was one of the first things that kind of made you think and scratch your head and say, well, that doesn't make sense, that just made you decide that this isn't just a big rock spinning in on an axis, rotating around the sun, chasing something through the thing at 1,000,000 miles an hour?
I mean, it really does. It comes down to the fact that we've been lied to about so many different things. I've
Mm,
and every system that we know has been infiltrated, including the education system, and it's all done and made to keep us in a controllable position, by what is in our realm, you know, on our planet, like a negative, like the dark side, you know, if we were going to go Star Wars that is, you know, kind of controlling us without us knowing. You know, we live in the land of the free, but you know, all we have is freedoms and rights, and you know, who gets freedoms and rights when you are on good behavior? Prisoners, right?
yeah,
And,
yeah.
so not realizing that we aren't sovereign, or standing in our true sovereign selves as beings of God, and you know, realizing that, you know, we are not free. We are prisoners in our own system, and so that kind of, you know, is just realizing that we were lied to, and that really came into play around the 2020 era,
Of
and
course. Yeah.
as it did for many. I kind of believe that that's a big purpose of why it all happened, is to give people that time to, you know, either look into it and figure it out, or continue and stay distracted.
Hmm. Yeah,
How
I
about
think
how?
for
Go ahead.
I was going to say, for me, one of the big things that just never made sense is if we are, let's take an object here. I've got a phone. Let's use that.
Yeah,
And if we're spinning like this, says Mike is the sun, we're spinning like this. And
yeah,
then we come all the way around and we're spinning still over here on the other side of the sun.
yeah,
Why 365 days out of the year do we see the same constellation of stars?
yeah.
It's
That one,
it's
that one's a big one. And that, you know, after I had kind of started looking at that, is the, you know, like that's the fact that the constellations never change.
Yes, because if we were in fact rotating around the sun, we should be looking at a opposite constellation at both ends of the year. So in January, we should be looking at one constellation, and in
Yep,
July, we should be looking at a completely different constellation. So there's just like
absolutely.
one little piece of evidence that no one has been able to describe to me or explain to me. I've had people tell me,
Yep.
well, you know, I'm not a astrologist. Why don't you go talk to an astrologer? It's like, well, are they going to be able to tell me the answer?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Well, and it's also it's 2024. Like you can look these things up yourself and form opinions of your own, and that's just where some people have a real tough time, is if your opinion challenges their belief system. And then that
Mm,
has nothing to do with any of the points that are being made. That has to do with your ability as a human to be challenged
mhm. So
and question things.
so so check this out. I've taken like little bits of information from here and there. One of them being, did you ever get to see the Randall Carlson documentary series on Netflix, Ancient Apocalypse?
I feel like I actually did watch that.
Okay, it was dynamite, but it showcased all these different ancient evidence of civilizations and carves and from all
Yes.
corners of the globe, right? And all these carvings on the wall all talk about a few key things that in all different areas they all are the same. So one
Mhm.
thing they talk about is like a fiery serpent. They talk about water coming from the sky, and they talk about things that are not human looking. Like there's pictures in Mexico of aliens, there's pictures in Turkey of aliens, like there's pictures of aliens carved on walls from
Mhm.
who knows how many thousands of years ago. And then you're thinking like in this deep dive into uh, understanding my physiology and understanding my biology and learn and diving down the rabbit hole of water and getting into the hydrogen water thing, you understand how basically it's a deeper understanding of what you learn in grade 11 biology about
Mhm.
how cells function and what different roles of different elements of your body play within the functionality of the cell for the bigger organism itself. So in one of my multiple theories, say we are like a one little cell of a tissue of a muscle of a bigger being that could just be some kid playing soccer in a different universe, different realm, whatever. It doesn't matter who
Yep.
or what it is. It could literally be a giant mushroom for all we know. We just
Mhm.
don't know. But either
Absolutely.
way, and all these ancient scriptures and ancient carvings that are depicting different activities that are different events that are taking place over time. And like you said in the Bible, talking about the firmament, they all talk about water coming from the sky, and they all talk about
Mhm.
aliens. So the way I look at it is, if you want to take a dark and a light, a good and an evil of people and in this world, and we are just elements of within a cell, and and the people that are on the dark or the evil side, they are essentially a virus. People talk about there being
Yeah.
a epidemic of a mind virus, which I am completely in agreement with, and I have again my own set of reasons and beliefs and what I've learned as to why and how that may be. But the point being is that take like a white blood cell. What does a white blood cell do?
It kills.
Right?
It takes out the
It
bad cells.
detects. Yes, it literally comes in and it cleans out the virus out of the cell.
Yep.
So, and people talk about seeing aliens and extraterrestrial encounters and all these things. Same thing as on the carvings when there's large scale world events happening. So,
Yep.
what if aliens are the white blood cell of our universe and they come in and monitor? They're just making sure everything's good. And when things get too bad, they're literally, okay, it's time for a reset. And
Yep.
they come in and they allow the walls to open up, the cell membrane, and flush it with water and rinse it of its virus. And where we are, what element we play in the cell, I don't exactly know, but and they talk about fire. I don't know how to explain that either. But all these different elements that they all seem to have in common kind of point in the direction of it being a cell. Why else would there be water coming from the sky? And where would all these
Mhm.
great floods come from? Unless you want to take a theory. I know you mentioned it before, as above, so below, and they've been finding all these wild freshwater caverns deep under the sea, and maybe the water is coming from underneath. But I mean, if we are a cell and there's a ferment all the way around, then that means we're surrounded by water, not just above us, but all the way around.
Exactly. Yeah. No. And I mean, the firmament thing and the cell membrane, it all still plays into the, like you said, the possibility of aliens. I've heard many theories on that we all exist at the same time, and like the grays are a future version of humans. You know, and Pleiadians, which is just another, like the Pleiadians is like a star, like a constellation in the sky that you can look at. There's theories that there's Pleiadians and Arcturians and Lemurians and all that, and they could be in from not only different places but again different times, right? And then there's like the theories on the lost cities of Atlantis, and maybe that wasn't a city, but that was an entire world, but that was flushed out from water. That's why that's the theories are Atlantis is underwater. But then there's the theory, that this is all simulation, and that very well could be true too. It's interesting.
I think sometimes you think about it to an extent, and I think if that is the case, I think some people, just like in the Matrix, are locked into the simulation and can't get out, and the people that choose free will can remove themselves from the Matrix, and then in which case, they are playing outside of the regular paradigm of the simulation of the game that is taking place. And that's where the term like NPC comes from, where people can, one of my favorite videos is this guy walking into a random store, and he like just makes small talk conversation, makes a joke with the guys, drops some things, says, "Oh, I'm just dropping off coupons. And then be out here. Have a good Thursday night." He's like, "Yeah, it's actually a Monday morning at 11, and that was my vacuum cleaner manual." Like, you can say whatever you want to NPCs. It doesn't matter.
Oh no, that video kills me. I knew exactly what you're talking about before you even. I wish I had that one like loaded up and ready. That's one thing I do like about StreamYard is you can have clips and stuff loaded up. But I'm glad you brought up the Matrix, because it's a hell of a documentary. Like it's so, when you look at it like a documentary, it's so believable. What I like about it too is, because I'm what I like to call an apocalyptimist. It's like, yeah, no, we're going through the end of times, but I have a very optimistic view of what's coming after. This isn't, in my opinion, this isn't the beginning. It's the end. And I mean, the end. Sorry, this isn't the end. It's the beginning, right? And the end's already happened. I do believe to a certain degree that things ended, the world ended, like the Mayans said in 2012. It just wasn't like a big apocalyptic thing that a lot of people think it's going to be, where it's like all fire and brimstone because of the things in the cave and stuff like that, like you were already talking about, like maybe that's that's where that fire comes from. It's just like it all goes to hell before it turns into heaven. But I mean, even in that, I don't believe that you go to heaven or hell, but, based on what you're doing in this earth, and we're all sinners, and so that's a dark way to live, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I believe heaven and hell are places that exist already. I think it's our job right now as our generation to bring heaven on earth, so that we can all really learn that, up our level of consciousness, so that we can see it's upping your level of consciousness by bringing your consciousness from here, your dysfunctionally egoic mindset, to your heart, and thinking and operating from your heart. Because then, like in the Matrix 3, not the most recent one that just came out a few years ago, but Matrix 3, the ending of it is pretty interesting to me. And this is where Neo wins, and it's basically it's like a level of consciousness that hits the planet, and it goes down there like those underground people, and it's just like, oh, the war is over, it's done. And then there's like rainbow in the sky. It's a really cool clip. Like, it makes me think of it. And then Sephirim, I think his name is, asks the Oracle, and it's like, he's like, you always knew, like, how did you know? And she looks at him, and she's like, oh, but I didn't. I believed. And I'm like, yeah. So like, that is so awesome. That's where I am at. I'm just like, I don't have any hope or hope for our future at all. But in that same respect, I don't have any fear either. It's a trust and faith that we are going in the right direction. You know, it's like you see all this stuff going on, like Trump getting, assassinated or attempted assassination, and now Biden's out of the race, and it's hilarious to people like you and I, because I think it's like watching a movie, and your level of consciousness really depicts what kind of movie you're watching. Some people are watching a horror movie, and some people, I'm watching a comedy. I think it's all hilarious at this point.
Yeah, it's funny. My wife says the same thing, where there's so many movies that she can't watch. She just sees all the hidden agendas and things inside of it. It's just like, I can't watch this, especially things that are futurist style movies, because you can easily paint the path to get to that point from where we are today.
Oh yeah,
right. So
now more than ever.
It's definitely tricky. And you said you were talking about consciousness, and I find a lot of people have a hard time. You can talk about health and cellular health and well-being, but as soon as you get to consciousness, that's where a lot of people drop off. And like, do you have a easy way to kind of describe it to people and share what it means, and what are different levels of consciousness, and what that looks like?
I mean, no, not really, but not an easy way of explaining it. But it kind of goes to what I was talking about with the difference between thinking from your mind and thinking from your heart. And it can be explained as three-dimensional being to five-dimensional being. That's what a lot of people believe that we're going through. And the more you explore the dimensions, there's well over five dimensions. In fact, technically, fifth dimension is still a lower vibrational dimension on the spectrum. There's supposed to be like 12 dimensions or something like that.
And when you're talking about the spectrum, are you talking about like is it Anthony? No, David Hawkins, the scale of consciousness from Power versus Force?
No, not in particular. I mean, maybe without knowing it, but not in particular. And is that the scale from like the low vibration being fear and hate and stuff like that, up to love, and then gratitude and joy and all that. Yeah, I've seen that. Again,
oneness.
that one.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think the only way I can really describe to people in a fairly short manner is like, it's everything you think and everything you believe coming from an emotion that you choose to voice your thoughts through. So like, if you're constantly in fear of everything you're doing, everything you're experiencing, everything you're working up to, and like, I made like a 10-minute video talking all about fear and all these different fears that are blocking me in different areas of my life. And so that's a very low vibrating, because I very much so believe that your thoughts, your words, and your feelings can create the reality that you want. People that are constantly positive and optimistic and hopeful and caring and all these different attributes, it seems like good things happen to them. I mean, it's not to say that it's a indefinite rule that bad things don't happen to good people, but it's also the way you frame the bad things. If you say, oh, that isn't what I expected, that's interesting, but I know that the universe or God or the world or whatever you want to call it, as a force, or all of us together, collective consciousness, has my back, and no matter what's happening, isn't not happening to me, but it's happening for me to get me to exactly where I need to be, then as long as you carry that belief, and you're believing and you're thinking, and everything you're doing is deriving from that emotion, and it's just to what degree on the scale of consciousness that emotion that you're feeling and experiencing everything through, that's the best way I can describe consciousness. And it only grows with the awareness, and the awareness is within, like being self-aware as to like, okay, I'm having this thought. What is creating this? What is making me have this thought? and why, and can I just choose to not have that thought anymore and think from a different point of view?
Well, and that really kind of plays to our theory on the microcosm of a macrocosm, because if you're thinking like that and you're truly believing that and you're vibrating that into every cell inside of your body, that vibrates out into the world that is external to us. And you know, I mean, we all know it. When you're in a room of people and someone with a super negative, like they're having a shit day and they're, you know, you can feel that energy. You can feel the energy being sucked out of out of that room, and like a parasite is like attacking the energy of the room. Conversely, you also can feel it when someone that's super high vibrational is coming into the room, and it's like, and all of a sudden it brings a new vibe to the room and uplifts it because of the vibrational pattern that is coming from the being. You know, and this is stuff that we don't see because we only see 1%, less than 1% of the visible spectrum, and I think that's a big thing for us. It's that's a big part of our learning process and remembering process. That's what I think. You know, a lot of people think, look at, you know, our world as a place to learn, and I do agree with that, but it's more a place to remember who we actually are, and get, you know, find that power that we should have, being the absolutely incredible beings that we are.
Yeah, I'd say that's bang on.
Yeah,
So
and go ahead.
as you were talking about the spectrum and how like we can only see like a very small percentage of the spectrum, because like the spectrum being of light, like even just like I've got a red light panel over here and it's got two different types of bulbs. It's got a red bulb and a bulb that just like is super dim and you don't really see anything, but that's like the most effective part of that red light therapy panel it's a different wavelength that we just can't see. But unfortunately, the way our brains work, they're all based on experience. So we see things, that's how we learn. We hear things, we read things, we experience them physically. And that's how we learn. And that's what we know to be truth and what we know to be knowledge. So it's taking the next step into the belief system and looking at it and having a better understanding of how things are operating to know these things without physically experiencing them in a conventional way that most people are used to with our five senses. Because you know that feeling that you get when someone that's super high vibe walks in the room and it's like, oh, right on, like this person just made this room of people that much better. Like, I wonder what they got going on. I would love to talk to them. And you can't explain it because it's not something you saw. It's not something you heard. It's not something you know what I mean? It's just an internal
Knowing without
feeling
knowing.
that's a different sense. Exactly. So with that question being posted, I know you've been down the water rabbit hole longer than I have, but I've been running downhill pretty hard down this rabbit hole, and we had a short conversation about a water bottle. You called it the Kangen of hydrogen water bottles because it's a MLM setup. Now they're coming out with some pretty wild, anecdotal. I don't know how much of it is physically science based. I haven't looked into it enough, but they're essentially, for people that don't know, they're a hydrogen water bottle like this that generates hydrogen and dissolves the hydrogen gas back into the water for the health benefits. And what they've also done is they've got a series of magnets in it to simulate the magnetic field of the earth as if like water is flowing over rocks. And they've also got on the lid, they've got a different system where they've got different light. I don't know what frequency of light they're using. Apparently they're keeping it a secret of what, because they have frequency as well, not just light, but a frequency where they're, again, you can't see it. You can't tangibly tell the difference of what's happening, but they're changing the water on a molecular level, on a cellular level, to be more functional within our body, to be easier to absorb. I guess you'd call that structured water, being structured in a particular way via frequency and vibration. So again, with all these things that people can't necessarily see, smell, taste, like how how would you go about explaining that, or even would you, like, is it like, what are your thoughts on it overall?
I mean, to me, the whole purpose of structuring the water is, like you said, is so it can absorb better into your cells. There's
Mhm.
not going to be any better way of absorbing into your cells than with hydrogen. It's been proven many times that hydrogen has the ability to permeate the cellular membrane. And so, we can talk about structuring and stuff like that. And I am in no way, I am very much, I love science, but I am certainly not trust the science. Science is all about, proving things wrong, and disproving previous theories. That's what science is. And so, and that's why, again, when people don't have the ability to question their beliefs, it's like, you're not looking at this from the bigger picture. But that's to answer the question on this, I've heard really good things about this particular bottle. Unfortunately, because of their business structure, it's an insanely expensive bottle, and it better
500
be.
US.
Yeah, I mean, that's Canadian, that's $650, $700, and
Mhm.
now I will warn people from going and buying the $50 versions of these bottles, because that comes with a whole bunch of problems. And the hydrogen that you're seeing bubbled into the water is not actually hydrogen. A lot of it is actually like chlorine and stuff like that that's getting amplified back in the water. It's those are bad for the hydrogen bottle water, like the hydrogen water bottle industry. For that reason, this bottle that we're talking about is bad for the hydrogen water bottle industry for a whole other reason, and that is it's when it's that expensive, like,
It's that
you're
expensive,
not.
and what a lot of people would consider woo woo, because like I said, they can't see it, they can't feel it, they can't
And
taste
yeah,
it,
that's the
so they
whole
don't.
point. There's no science backing any of this structuring up. You said it yourself. It's anecdotal.
Mhm.
And it can be anecdotal for a number of reasons, and placebo effect is one of the bigger reasons in that. And so, and it just, again, it shows the power of what we feel, think, and believe, because you can believe yourself right into that product, and you can have a really good product and not believe in it, and it's not going to do much for you because your belief system's already pointed in that direction. And
Mhm.
so, I especially when we're talking about frequency. I mean, look up. We've seen the Emoto experiments of putting love and joy and that on the water, and then freezing it and seeing the beautiful geometric shapes, and then conversely putting fear and hate and greed on other ones and seeing it being just a mess. And
Mhm.
so, if you want that frequency, then you can add that yourself, really. You just got to understand your true powers and believe in
You know, there's
yourself.
a do you know there's a winery in Kelowna that plays lovely music to the vines?
Really? What
Yeah,
winery?
I can't remember the name of it, but it's back. Well, I mean, if I told you
Yeah.
where in Kelowna, would you? It's
Yeah,
it's near
there's
Vibrant Vines. It's
too many there's too many damn wineries up there. But I love
yeah.
that. I love that, and I firmly believe in that. I do believe that would make the wine taste a lot better. I mean, unfortunately, you're going to have to wait quite a while to prove that theory on it, based on the
Yeah.
way wine ages. But yeah, I don't really drink anymore. Otherwise, I'd be taking a weekend trip up there to to check that out, because I think that's really cool. I mean, it's like Tesla says, is if you want to if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration.
Hmm.
That's what it all comes down to. And again, that, like we were saying earlier, about those thoughts that you put into yourself, and they vibrate into each and every one of the 75 trillion cells that are in your body. cells within the cells, microcosms of you being the macrocosm. And so you can add that to your water. I don't think spending $650 or $700 Canadian on that water bottle is really worth it. And I think that puts a kind of a bad spin to the market and makes it more, as you said, woo-woo. Whereas hydrogen is backed by over 2,000 peer-reviewed studies now, and those studies continue to pour out, and interest in hydrogen continues to increase as we realize the reason we need hydrogen. And also, the reason we need filtration as well. I mean, that's starting to become more and more aware for most people.
Yeah. So I've actually got a couple questions for you.
All right.
And I don't know who's conducting this podcast or interview.
I was thinking about that earlier. I'm like, this is more of an interview of me, and I like it. This is good because I knew going into this, before we went into this, that we have very similar views on this, and I think I knew we'd be able to just spout off from that. So I'll just change you to the host and me to the guest now.
Perfect. So you were okay. A lot of people, when they're talking about hydration, and we talk about what hydrogen does in the process of hydrating the body, like first thing in the morning. And a lot of people will say, well, you just don't need that. How about you just sprinkle a little bit of salt in your water, a little bit of lime or citrus or whatever in your water, and that'll do the exact same thing. What do you say to that? Where does that fit in? Does that fit in anywhere into your routine?
I mean, I will sprinkle salt in my water. I do believe in putting electrolytes in your water, but it's different than hydrogen. The reason being is, again, being a microcosm of a macrocosm, our bodies are 75% water. The planet is 75% water. Now, is all of that water fresh water? No, it's a large part of that is actually salt water. And when you sweat and cry, that is salty, right? And so having that, salt has been demonized and in a big way. And so I do believe in, having, and it's got to be healthy salt. Don't go and put the table salt. It's got to be, a properly sourced Celtic sea salt. Don't even put Himalayan pink salt in your water, because we're now finding out that a lot of that is garbage too. I actually prefer an electrolyte drink called Insulted that has just your magnesium, potassium, and sodium. Yes, it's very clever name. The guy that
I drink Element.
Yeah, Element. It's pretty much the same thing as Element, except the sweetener isn't stevia; it's glyvia, which is like stevia's better looking cousin, in my opinion. It's actually proven to regulate your blood sugar levels, and it is completely safe to have when you're fasting. It won't break your fast. So for those that are doing the keto thing or fast, which I've done a few 3-day water fasts over the past year, and I've used the Insulted throughout the process, and it hasn't changed. Like my ketone levels were pretty high by the end of the 3-day fast.
I've never actually got to test my ketones or test anything really when I do a fast. It's all just intuitive.
Yeah, and it's that for me. It's just peeing a little strip, and it's kind of like a pH strip actually, and it'll change color. It's usually like a burgundy-ish color between blue and purple, and it will kind of give you a good idea. But there's other ways of doing it with glucose meters and stuff like that. But if you are in touch with your body, then you should be able to get that into it. You should know, that, okay, things are happening here, like I'm not eating, and yet I've got all this energy and I don't feel fatigue and stuff. That's a pretty freaking good sign that you have ketones running through your body. But getting back to the question about salt and hydrogen, and you could just add salt in your water. I mean, the common do-it-yourself alkaline water is lemon juice and pink, like Celtic salt, right? And
how is that an alkaline fix when
lemon
citrus
juice is
is
acidic,
acidic? How is
because
that
lemon
an
juice,
alkaline fix?
because it's alkalizing to your body. It's not alkaline as a substance, and so the reason being is lemon juice is full of vitamin C. Vitamin C is an antioxidant, and so when you drink the water, it becomes alkalizing
Mm.
as soon as you drink it, because it's reducing oxidative stress and attacking the reason people are acidic. Drinking alkaline water, thinking that that's going to alter your body's pH, is not the case. It's just that's been debunked many, many times, and it has nothing to do with the pH. It has everything to do with what the water is actually doing inside your body. It's just scratching the surface.
Mm-hmm.
And so while the lemon juice and Himalayan pink salt or Celtic salt is a good do-it-yourself alkalizing agent, it is limited, because when you have hydrogen is unlike any other antioxidant that we know of. Hydrogen is a unique selective antioxidant in that it only scavenges for the hydroxyl radical, which is a byproduct of energy or ATP production inside your cells. And it's kind of like the exhaust to fuel being used. And when it neutralizes the hydroxyl radical, it actually converts it into water, which then hydrates you at a cellular level and allows for your body an easy way to expel the now neutralized free radical out. And so that's what differs between the salt and hydrogen. Salt, yes, you will get better hydration because it's structured in a better way to absorb into your cells. It's more in line with the water that actually is in and around the cell membrane. But getting to the root cause of many health problems, and that is
The root
oxidative stress and
cause.
inflammation,
Mm-hmm.
the hydrogen will get in there, and then it will help keep up with the hydroxyl radical production created by the energy, and then that restores balance into your body at a cellular level, and that's when your body can start operating normally and optimally, and that's where your glutathione gets upregulated, your NAC and NAD levels get upregulated, and your body starts doing what it's supposed to do. Is it, or
Yeah.
will it cure anything? No, that's not what hydrogen does. Anybody says that to you, do not listen to them, because hydrogen isn't curing anything. It's just returning your body back to a balance so that your body can do what it's supposed to do.
Thank you. That's a big message that I try to push out as well in my marketing, because just like you have your things, I have a hydrogen water bottle company as well, because I've learned so much diving down this rabbit hole. And I say the same thing. I say yes, and I say it's great. I have electrolytes. I put salt in my water when I go to the gym, because I live in Mexico and it's like 35 degrees with 100% humidity, so I'm sweating constantly. I need more electrolytes. And plus, you look at, yes, hydrogen can permeate cell membranes, no problem, but also the typical form of transporting through a cell membrane is osmosis, which is a sodium potassium pump, which, as you mentioned, your electrolytes have sodium, potassium, magnesium, and that's how they function to allow things in. So it's just accumulative, because there's not just one thing that's going to fix the issues that we have. Because actually, I'm in the middle of writing a blog right now, which will also be a video, but it's going to be titled the sad truth of hydrogen water, or sad truth of hydrogen water bottles. And it has nothing to do with the water bottles themselves, other than the fact that there are ones, like you say, that are giving it a bad name, the ones that are putting all the bad shit from the electrolysis process back into the water, giving it a cloudy look and chlorine and chemicals and ozone and whatever else. And on the flip side as well. But like, our entire bodies and everything we consume is just under so much attack from everything, whether it be tap water, which, being the H2 water expert, how bad tap water is, all the things that contains in it. Then you look at the introduction of glyphosates in food and all over so many different types of food, and looking at mold toxicity from improper food supplies and farming practices. And you look at seed oils, which I have my own experience from that. I was in a construction project building a refinery at a canola crushing plant, and I saw the byproducts. I saw the processes that stuff goes through to come out as an oil. And it was a big Cargill factory in Saskatchewan, and their biggest customer was McDonald's for all their fry oils. And so all these different things, the chemicals, and just our system is just under so much attack that we need to stack all these different habits to help return our bodies to a state of homeostasis. So like you say, our bodies can do what they're designed to do, because our bodies are designed to clean ourselves out. We're designed to heal and remove dis-ease from our body, because just because we don't have a labeled symptom of a disease does not mean there is not dis-ease in our body from putting garbage and chemicals into it. And so like it's so difficult to explain all this without people having a mutual awareness that our food and water and our health systems are just under so much attack. And so that's a big part of my messaging and what I'm transitioning into. I've been in Mexico for 2 years now, and just been kind of figuring out how to redo life in a whole different environment, and moving into the health and wellness and coaching space, because I've been a walking science experiment on my own body for the last 15 years. And I love it. It's all I want to talk about with anyone. So now it just seems like a kind of a no-brainer transition into what I'm doing now.
Well, and trust me, having been in the hydrogen water industry for over a decade now, like when I first started doing this, there's only about 350 studies. And like I said earlier, now there's over 2,000 studies, and you actually have it being talked about at higher levels. And so, I get it. It can be difficult to do the education aspect of it, but that's really, that's all I do. That's why and how I make sales, is just by educating people and helping people make an informed decision for them and their family's health. And that really is key. I don't sell at all. It's just, once you understand, the products just make sense. And if you don't understand yet, it's never a no, it's just a not now. It's never an if, it's when. We do live in a world where it's death by 1,000 cuts. The air that we breathe, the food that we eat, the drinks that we drink, the overall stress in life, it's one thing after a fucking other. And it can be hard, and I think it was made this way to be difficult to think, okay, well, what do I even do? And then there's so many things coming at you that you just decide to do nothing. And that isn't the way to do it. Don't put yourself on autopilot or live the I'm fine mentality. Don't be fine. Don't survive, thrive. And it starts with just, you can take it step by step. This process has been happening for you for over 15 years. For me, it's been over a decade for my health. Hydrogen water is just one of the many things that I do for my health. And you kind of touched on it earlier. There's no cookie cutter answer to it. There's no one set thing that you can do. I would say that your water and hydration is probably one of the most important things to look at. It is a foundation to a healthier, more balanced, healthy lifestyle. But there's also things like, the food that you eat, the air that you breathe, and then what you're doing with that. Are you doing breath work? Are you taking cold dips? Are you using a sauna? Are you using red light therapy? Maybe a PEMF mat. That's the beautiful thing about the time that we live in right now, is there's so many different ways. Yes, this world is full of problems, but guess what, folks? It always has been. The cool thing about now is there's a whole bunch of solutions that are being brought out at a very, very rapid rate, because we are going through, and needed to for quite some time, to go through a healing process, and not just, we're doing it individually as a collective. And that's the beautiful thing is about this whole process, having been down the hydrogen road, having been down the every different rabbit hole there is, and gone through the fun parts of being labeled a conspiracy theorist or whatever you want to call me. But
You
sticking
must
with
have had
it.
that. You must have had that pretty hard being in the hydrogen space so early.
It was, oh yeah, 100%, man. I'm like, oh yeah, you should drink hydrogen water. I'm like, whoa, what the hell? Hydrogen water's already got hydrogen in it. And the amount of times I've heard that. Like, in fact, actually, I have a friend who is a pretty high level personal trainer reach out to me about a month and a half ago. He's like, hey man, like I want to talk to you about your hydrogen water systems. This was on Facebook. The last time we had talked on Facebook, at least, was in 2015. And it was like, hey man, like we should talk about hydrogen water and stuff. And so, I mean, that conversation on its own has almost been a decade long, but I've been patient and knowing that it's just going to take its time. And now, I mean, every people that are seeing these hydrogen water bottles all over the place, they're seeing or hearing people like Gary Brecka or Joe Rogan and whatnot talking about it. They're like, hey man, like, oh, they're talking about hydrogen water. I'm like, hey, like that's awesome. Yeah, that's what I've been talking about for over a decade. Like, and it's not any like anything negative or like, oh, I told you so type of thing. Like that's the world has no place for that. That doesn't matter. That's my ego. If I'm talking like that, that's just ego, and that's
prove
not
it energy.
Yeah, and that's not where I want to be. Where I want to be is where we are right now, and that is a world that is waking up to the wonderful and amazing technologies and things that we have available to us that are coming out in such a rapid rate, so that we can just end these toxic cycles that we've been through. I'm not waiting around for any external source to come in and save me, whether it's Jesus coming down from the sky or it's aliens or the new, it's President Trump or whatever dumb crap. Nobody's coming to save you. You got to save yourself. You have to you have to take it into your own hands and just have that trust and knowing that there is a higher being that put you here for a reason and put you here for this exact reason, to end these cycles, help make this world a better place. You know what the best way to do, or to make the external world a better place? Make your internal world a better place. It starts there. Start there and work outwards. And I think, as you and I both know, I mean, or at least we can agree on, is start with your water, because it's the foundation. You don't exist without water. It's not how much water you drink, it's what kind of water you drink. And for hydrogen to be in your water, you don't need a huge amount. And did you know that in a tablespoon of water there's more hydrogen, or the same amount of hydrogen as stars in the sky, going all the way back to our constellations?
No.
Or stars in your universe. Like it's such an abundant element. It's the most versatile molecule, and it is going to be something. I mean, you want to talk about going down to basics? Nothing more basic, and I'm not talking about pH. I'm talking about simple. There's nothing more simple than hydrogen. It's like the old additive: keep it simple, stupid. And that's the kiss method. But it's just
it's one of
bring
the
it back
elements on the periodic table. It's a core
filter your
element.
water properly, and add the hydrogen in there. There's many ways of doing it, and the more people become aware of this, the more affordable and accessible it becomes. That's my goal with the hydrogen water industry. That's the purpose. And until it gets that way, I'm going to be here working harder than ever to try and get it. Hydrogen's been recognized as a fuel in Asia for quite some time now, and it's starting to be realized and recognized as a fuel for our body. I mean, it's actually not the fuel; it's what cleans up the byproduct of the fuel, as I explained earlier. But it's pretty cool to be in this industry. It's pretty cool to see it evolving the way it is, and seeing us as humans evolving the way we are. We really we went all over the place here today. I like it. We got to do this more
Yeah.
often.
Yeah, totally. I'm definitely down. I do have.
Oh yeah, get her.
I have a wrap up question before we go because this is my podcast now.
Yeah, well,
So
I've been totally hijacked here. I love it.
For all the people out there that hear people on social media or scientists or nutritionists or coaches or whatever it may be, when we're talking about toxins and talking about seed oils and talking about highly refined sugars and talking about all these things that don't have any place in our bodies, they are not being used properly as fuel. And they use a term, they have a phrase that they say repeatedly. And I want to know what your opinion is on it. Is the dose makes the poison.
Cool.
That's how they justify. That's how they justify people that are like saying bad about things like seed oils.
Yeah, I mean, there's definite truth to that, 100%. Because when you say that to me, I think of not only mushrooms, but one in particular, the Amanita muscaria. You know, that's the Super Mario Brothers mushroom that the red and white one. We've been just it's super poisonous, that'll kill you. Apparently, it killed like one person back in the late 1800s, but it can be used in medicinal purposes based on its dose. And so, I mean, while there is likely truth, there is truth to that. Because I mean, if you go and grab a glass of heavily fluoridated water in the U.S., is that going to kill you? Is it going to make you go brain dead? Is that going to have irreparable effects on you right then and there? No. And that's why it's death by 1,000 cuts, because it's not about, it is these small doses over time of things like fluoride, of seed oils. And I mean, you do your best to get away from seed oils and GMOs. It's very hard to do. It's very hard to do. I mean, a lot of people in my area will say, and that you should eat your water. That's one thing that we didn't actually cover. We talked about the salt in the water, but you can talk about structured water from your fruits and vegetables. Okay, that's great. I fully support that in one of your ways of getting hydration. But are you growing that yourself? Or where are you getting it from? Are you getting your water? Are you eating your water from a seedless watermelon? Because that's probably not how you should be eating your water. Because that structured water is, it's going to absorb into your body better, but it's also full of chemicals and GMOs. And because how the hell does that seedless watermelon even exist?
Did you know that the black seeds don't actually make watermelon trees grow in your stomach?
They don't?
No, I just learned this like 2 days ago, and now I got watermelon cut up downstairs that I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to eat all the black seeds.
Oh, yes, you will, because that's where a lot of the nutrients come from. And it's so funny. This is like this is the hilarious paradoxical world that we live in. Is those seeds are healthy for you, but what are we just talking about that's not healthy for you? Seed oils. And so there's so many little similarities that are used to just mess with you to not really see it. But no, I mean, you would think sunflower seeds or sunflower oil would be good for you, but no, I mean, the seeds aren't bad for you, but the oil is no bueno for you because of the way that it's made and it's processed. It's what was the original question?
The original question was what the dose of the poison, which I just want to add one little.
It's just impossible. It's impossible to get away from seed oils and GMOs, right? And so that's where it's really hard to. I mean, next to impossible to get away from it. If you can, then that's amazing. Let me know how you did it, because
Yeah, my biggest thing is it's just an arrogant. Yes, there is validity to it 100%, but if you don't have further information to follow it up, then you're just blindly choosing to low dose poison yourself without
Yeah.
knowing what the dose is, which is going to be different for every single person. Every single person has a different size cup that is their tolerance to certain things that are foreign to their bodies that are not meant to be in there. So
Yep.
if you don't know what the dose is that makes it poisonous, why are you continuing to fill your cup up with said poison? In that case, then you're just
Until
making
you
the
find out.
choice.
Yeah,
You don't know
and
until
that's
you know.
well, and that's the epitome of the I'm fine mentality, right? It's like, oh, I'm not in the hospital dying, so I'm fine. Meanwhile, you're pre-diabetic, you're getting sick every couple months, and just because you're not in the hospital bed dying, it doesn't mean like again, it's thriving versus surviving, and so it's that you're gonna get that from that type of that mentality, but those aren't your customers anyways, right? They're not ready for this. But again, it's not if, it's when. There's a certain point where everybody's going to actually wake up to the fact that it's like we're slowly but surely killing ourselves. And that's there's no fingers crossed for me, bro. It's not even, I don't
It's
have
belief.
any hope. It's just it's gonna happen. And then again, it's not if, it's when. I mean, the struggle is it's when, like, is it gonna be 30 days from now or 30 years from now? Like, how much longer do we have to put ourselves through this until we reach that we get over that the hill, the hump of waking up to what's actually going on?
Yeah, and I agree, because it's you can't work with the people that don't want the help because they don't know what they need help with.
Yeah, they don't know that they even need help, and
Yeah,
I while hydrogen is amazing in a reactive way, I would much rather have people using hydrogen in a proactive way.
100%.
And that's where hydrogen water is the best for that. Is being proactive on your health. If you're using hydrogen to be reactive, then I'd probably look at hydrogen inhalation, or depending on it really depends on where you're looking to deal with, or what you're looking to deal with. If it's digestive, hydrogen water. If it's respiratory, cardiovascular, neurological, hydrogen inhalation. If it's MS or fibromyalgia or muscle soreness, bathe in it, and try not
For
to.
MS as well.
Well, yeah, because it's reducing inflammation. Because hydrogen has the ability to permeate the skin membrane, just like it does the cellular membrane and allegedly the blood-brain barrier. But I've used hydrogen therapy for muscle soreness in a number of different ways, like the hydrogen inhalation machine that we have. I hurt my back doing squats, and so I immediately went home and I actually applied the hydrogen directly to. So I took the cannula that I normally have in my nose, laid down on my lower back, and laid on it for about half an hour. I was back at the gym the next morning. Like, it was incredible. And so
Nice.
it all depends on what you're trying to either treat or be proactive on. And that's where having experts in the field that you can go to, like myself and yourself, is key to doing this. But I think the key to this, or to hydrogen, everything in life, is ask questions. What happened
Curiosity.
to the world where we stopped asking questions? And we gotta interrupt status quo, because status quo ain't doing so well right now. And so, but that's why I'm glad that we did this episode, because
Heck
it
yeah.
would, it's definitely going to get some people asking, asking some questions, and I hope it does. And if it does, throw it in the comment section and put your opinion to this, because I love talking about this because it's all theories. And regardless of whether you're on the flat Earth side of things, the heliocentric model, you think we live in a donut, or you think we're in a simulation, like whatever it is, like let's talk about it, because they're all theories. And just like gravity, which is, that one's a tough one for the heliocentric believers, is that gravity is literally just a theory, just like Big Bang. It's all theories. And so if you can open your mind and listen to other people without getting your precious little ego hurt with when your belief system gets challenged, have these conversations. It's fun. Why? It doesn't have to
They
be.
are fun.
Yeah.
And I should have prefaced, before we started talking about what the universe is and what the world is, we should have prefaced, like, it doesn't really matter. It's fun to talk about. It's fun to discuss. It's fun to theorize. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really change the way we go about our daily life. And it doesn't, on a grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. It's just fun.
And that's where I ended up going with when it came to flat Earth. It's like, what the fuck does it even matter? Excuse my language. I tend to sprinkle the F-bomb into my sentences, like parsley on a dinner plate every now and then. But it doesn't matter whether we're like, it doesn't change your life. Where the flat earthers will say is, but it's one of the lies that they tell us. And that, what, if that is maybe true, but how do you know that you're not also being lied to about everything that you're learning, right? And so it's just, that's where keeping that mind open, but having discernment and using your critical thinking skills to form opinions of your own, but don't be afraid of to have those opinions and beliefs change if proven if proven otherwise at a future date.
100%. And like with that one theory that I talked about, like I have multiple different theories, and one of them is more of a flat Earth theory, and one of them is more of a concave as opposed to a convex or whatever. Like there's so many different, because they're just ideas. They're just thoughts that are all being scrambled together to put into a theory that doesn't matter.
There's hollow Earth theories. There's a theory that the moon is like the Death Star and Star Wars. Like there's all sorts of fun stuff out there, and that's the key. Is just because that's the key. I now talking about consciousness and frequency is just have fun with it. Have fun with it. Laugh. That's the greatest medicine is laughing. If you're getting all bent out of shape with this stuff, ask yourself why. Why is it? What does this matter to me? Why am I getting so upset about this that it's ruining friendships and relationships? Friendships and relationships are being absolute. That COVID killed more friendships and relationships than people, like, tenfold. And I experienced that, and I'm sure you did too. I'm sure everybody did to a certain degree, regardless of what side you're on. And that's and it's like talking about politics, right? That's why you don't bring up politics, because it's either right wing or left wing, and not realizing you're on the same fucking bird,
not realizing that's a duality that doesn't need to exist. You can have idealism and just have, like I said, that's the whole point of idealism, is having an idea and building upon that to create a functioning society where everyone gets to contribute and be a part of it, instead of butting heads and everything being about division.
It's a lot of people, or especially in this day and age, with the time that we're at, with the U.S. election coming up here soon, and the Canadian election coming up, and it was like, we need Trump in, we need Democrats in, or up here in Canada, it's Pierre Poilievre is going to save us. I'm like, when are you going to learn that we need to just tear the government down, because we don't need people leading us, one individual leading us? That's why it doesn't work. When we're not working together. We think we are. We think we're voting. we think that's making a difference, but I believe that voting as an adult is very similar to writing a letter to Santa Claus as a kid. But because it's all done and decided well before any type of vote happens. That's just something that they let us do to make us think that, oh, here, we have a choice in the matter. No, we don't. The government needs to be the government. Yeah, exactly. It's a puppet show. It all needs to be torn down. The evil force. Maybe the moon is the Death Star. Maybe there's like the League of Shadows or whatever. In Antarctica, and they've got their base there, which actually might be true because that's why you can't go anywhere near Antarctica. But maybe that's part of our next episode is talking about Antarctica.
Maybe that's part of the second part of the series.
I think there might be more than a few parts of this series because I thoroughly and truly enjoy talking with you and talking with others about this. It's been a while since I've done a podcast based on this stuff, but it's good to put out there because it's fun. It's fun to have these conversations. It's fun to explore different ideas.
Likewise, brother. Likewise.
Well, that's enough for today. But we will definitely. I mean, I am going to be a father any day now, so we will hopefully get another episode in before that happens. But we will definitely continue this. These are conversations that I think need to be had, and I appreciate you for having this conversation with me.
Likewise.
All
right.
All right.
All right. Ciao later, man.
All right.